So there's no question in my mind,
Sir, all I
that
can
there was
do...
an intent to... Wait a minute, I'm talking.
That's D.C. Schools Chancellor Michelle Rhee getting a grilling at the D.C. Council yesterday, at the hands of the council, I should say. She's taken a lot of heat for laying off hundreds of teachers and workers last month. She says she didn't have any choice in doing that because of the serious shortfall in the budget, but some of the council accuse her of creating the budget gap when she ignored their instructions to cut summer school.
Why did you choose not to follow what the law was?
Because I did not believe it was in the best
was...
interest of children. When you cut our budget by $21 million, you did not call me to ask me whether it was okay to cut summer school or not.
Questioning, bitter and combative at times, the school's chancellor told Fox 5 that she is just trying to make the budget decisions that are in the best interest of the kids in D.C. public schools. Joining us this morning with more on that and the controversy over awarding contracts is at-large Councilmember Kwame Brown. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Also, Councilmember Mary Cheh. Good morning. Good morning. And Ward 5's Harry Thomas Jr. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Don't want to spend a lot of time on yesterday's hearing, but I do want to get the overall feeling. What we saw was at times very combative. Did anything come out of the hearings yesterday with Michelle Rhee?
Well, I don't think it was combative. I think the question was that on this show, as you know, the mayor and the chancellor says the council cut the budget and that's why they had to get rid of teachers, but it was very clear that the council reduced the amount of summer school in half, and they made a decision that they didn't want to follow that, and that she decided to cut teachers instead and use that as an opportunity to do it. So I think it was a good opportunity to clear it up, but I also think that it's time for the rhetoric to end. It's time for the chancellor and the arrogance to stop. We want to create school reform. We want to do it as bad as anyone else. I have 2 children that go to school right down the street, and the question becomes, it's not going to be helpful in an arrogant way to deal with school reform.
Have we seen the end of this, or would some of those teachers maybe get their jobs back?
Well, I don't think that they'll take them back unless they're forced to. Now, you know, the teachers have a lawsuit, but the chancellor seemed fairly adamant, I think, about sticking with those budget decisions, notwithstanding the fact that those decisions were taken, we think, contrary to direction of the council.
Councilmember Gray seemed to be almost at the end of his wits' end, if you will, when talking with Chancellor Rhee. I'll ask you, is that the mood right now of the City Council as far as the Mayor's office and also Chancellor Rhee's office?
Well, there's a perception of lawless activities and behaviors taken by this administration that I think is unconscionable. And I think that's the frustration, to have someone sit there and tell the chairman that she thought what she did was in the best interest of children when she violated some procedural issues that bring some questions to mind about what process are you following. There's a defined reprogramming process that I believe she violated. And when you said, will other teachers come back, I think the other issue becomes, as they're still hiring teachers, how are they now, after she admittedly said some good teachers were let go, then she should be making a real effort to make sure those good teachers come back in.
Let's talk about this other big issue. We again had the mayor on yesterday, and we were talking about the tens of millions of dollars awarded in these contracts, and he brought up a lot the procurement laws, and in reading that, to my understanding, it clearly says that over $1 million, this must go through the council. But then here comes the money from the housing authority, and maybe it doesn't matter as much, or doesn't have to go through those same channels. That was my understanding from yesterday. As a matter of fact, let's listen to a soundbite from Mayor Fenty when he was with us yesterday.
There could not be any better firewall than you have right now, even if the contracts had come under the executive branch, which they aren't. This is an independent agency. Even if they had, there's a procurement process which is followed. So in this case, not only was a procurement process followed, but it was followed by an agency that I have absolutely no control over.
What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, because they engineered moving the funds from Parks and Rec to the Deputy Mayor's office, to this housing agency, to a subsidiary. This whole thing was a maneuver. So now to pretend that, oh my goodness, this is something that's going on and I have no control over it, I'm sorry, but it's absolutely absurd.
Also, it begs the question about transparency when the mayor says that. Here you have a board within a board at housing, where the housing board's 2 members, the chair and the chair of economic development, then go sit on this other board to decide on other contracts. And in this case, we even noticed that those two members recused themselves because apparently there were some issues with these contracts. And I think that the other issue is when you look at who was awarded the contracts, there's even allegations, which we're going to get to today, where one of the members sat on the review panel and then was awarded the contract. And that just is a blatant violation of non-transparency at the least, because how can you review contracts, know what the bidding information is, and then be on the awarding team? That's a problem.
I just think that we have a problem. We have a problem with listening to the mayor, who I consider a friend, but I think he needs to understand that leadership is on the line, and it's his opportunity to step up, to start to be open and transparent. When you don't send witnesses to come testify, when you withhold information where the council has to sue to get information, I mean, when you look at what the chancellor has done, we're trying to move the city forward. And in order to move the city forward, we need all hands on deck. And I've seen him on your show refuse to answer questions sometime, and this is what we get as elected officials. And I think we're going to have a train wreck if the mayor doesn't change the way he operates.
I asked him also yesterday, Stephen and myself, we asked him about the Attorney General, Peter Nichols, having one opinion on Friday saying that this money transferred was not a legal issue, and then on Monday saying that it was. We talked about that, and the mayor said that, look, he has this upstanding record. Basically, the implication is he would never do something that wasn't above board. Your reaction to that, Councilmember Cheh?
Well, when you flip-flop like that, it doesn't inspire confidence in your opinion. And we've seen time after time where the Attorney General will come forward in rapid fire with an opinion sustaining whatever the executive does. So I have a high degree of skepticism about some of the opinions that have come out from the Attorney General's office.
Before we let you go, there's a roundtable today. You alluded to that a little bit, and this will get to the contracts issue. Am I correct?
Absolutely, it will, because a lot of these contracts were generated in Parks and Recreation, and so for the first time, that's why you have all of us here. We have this hearing because they actually sent them through the Deputy Mayor of Economic Development to Kwame's committee. Of course, Mary has oversight over all of these things through government ops. And then they went through housing, which brought in Mr. Berry. And so, and actually, this is probably the best thing could have happened, because now we have this transparent process where we can't hide balls. All the balls will be on the table, and we'll figure out what happened.
Let me just say, in ending, I appreciate all of you all coming from the D.C. Citizens United and Youth. They're holding a rally for unity today. They say that they want to see the council and the mayor's office come together to set a good example for D.C.'s youth, and I'm sure that you all are working to that end as well. Just looking for some cooperation.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us today. Let's get over to Julie right now for a look at the